Hello and welcome to another edition of the Moving Iron Podcast. This podcast is proudly provided by Axon, helping dealers move more iron for almost 100 years. Find out more at axontire.com. Axon was started almost 100 years ago out of a passion for keeping agriculture moving. It's that same passion that drives them today. With a vision for a better experience for both farmer and dealer, they set out to create a better way to move more iron. When you partner with Axon, you get immediate access to a full range of products and solutions designed to meet the complex needs of today's grower. Axon carries all major brands and sizes of tires, wheels, and tracks. From custom colors and sizes to fully customized wheels, you can have the solution for virtually any problem today's farmer is trying to solve. To find more or become an Axon dealer, please visit axontire.com. This podcast is also brought to you by Valley Transportation. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 or go to valleytransinc.com for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. This podcast is also brought to you by Ag Direct. No matter how you buy your ag equipment, from a dealer, auction, or a private party, Ag Direct can help you finance it. You can even apply online at agdirect.com. Learn more about your financing options at agdirect.com.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving iron time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving Iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast number 249. This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by Axon Tire, helping dealers move more iron for the past 100 years. For more information, go to axontire.com. Also, Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 for all your trucking needs, or go to valleytrans.com. Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. And no matter how you buy ag equipment from a dealer, auction, or a private party, Ag Direct can help you finance it. You can even go to agdirect.com online and apply there. Learn more about your financing options at agdirect.com. What's up, brother?
Another day.
It is.
Another day, another nickel.
Well, you're doing better than me.
Well, I'm hoping to...
Still $1 million short of being a millionaire.
Fantastic.
I want to punch somebody in the
I'm
face.
$1.5 million short.
When someone says that to me, I want to punch him in the face. There's
Right.
nothing more annoying than that right there. When people say that.
Quite honestly, that is the first time I've ever heard that.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so congratulations, Ham and Egger.
Right on.
Way to go.
Right on. All right. Well, today we have a lights out show for you.
Lights out.
Lights out. We've got two buddies of ours that'll be on here in just a little bit. Eddie Claxton and Lou Bordoni out of, what's the name of that place they're out of?
Flint.
Flint. How could I forget that?
Flint.
They have stores.
If
down
you
in
rub
Georgia.
those guys together, you
It
have to be
sparks.
careful. It will start a fire.
These guys spark, you know what I mean? So they're going to be on here a little bit later. Flint Eggs out of Georgia, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the cotton market and how that's affecting the business, because as you know, cotton is kind of through the roof right now. So
Yeah, and it's not just in the roadside or in the ditch.
No. And if you do pick cotton, now you're probably going to get rich.
You might now.
So,
Way to go, Randy Owen.
so you never know what's going to come from that. But anyway, those guys will be on here in a little bit. So Aaron, first week coming out of this, we had rough markets kind of everywhere. Bunch of market money coming in, outside market money coming in. Did that pique anyone's interest any more than already on buying equipment?
In the last week,
Yeah.
since our last recording.
Yeah.
Yes. Very busy week.
Very busy week.
Yep.
What's people looking for?
Literally anything. Loader tractors, which we're in that time of year.
Right.
It seems like pre-calving.
Right.
Everybody kind of,
Yeah.
oh, let's get a loader tractor. They're about to pop.
Loader tractors and utility vehicles with cabs.
Correct. Yes. Loader tractors, super hot.
Yeah.
Which they never aren't hot.
Right.
Combines are moving. Row crop tractors is still, love to sell you one if they existed, but nobody has any. Mm-hmm. Planners really a lot of planner calls in the last week. So that really ratcheted up pretty hot. Yeah. That's probably the biggest week-to-week thing, or even be so bold as month-to-month, which only stands to reason because it's almost February.
It's almost February, and a lot of places are gearing up for that late season early season run here where we're going to start looking at planters going through the shops and getting bolted stuff on and those kind of things. So
Yep. Locked down and loaded, baby.
locked down and loaded for sure. So as you take a look at what's going on now, we had a call with the guys from Tractors Name a little bit earlier, and they were showing us something new, and they have a trend now that they're going to start putting out there, so you can see a trend line develop. And they've got a little graph they were showing us, and it was amazing to watch the sharpness in row crop tractors.
Oh, man.
In November, that was like a straight up shot in November, and then a month later, you had combines took a big shot up. So now we've watched this trend line come across and start to develop, and we've hit what I would consider to be, I think, the top of the market. I don't know that it can go much.
Let's say this.
Okay.
Let's hope this is the top of the market.
Well, I mean, look at that trend line. Because if you watch that trend line, it shot up and it kind of went up, and now we kind of bounced across the top up here. And I really think we're going to – I'm not saying it's going to go down at all, but what I'm saying is that I think as more machines start to hit the marketplace, we're going to see more of a movement in values and in prices and what we see happening at the auction market. Because you and I both know that we're going to see a slow trickle to a big crescendo at the end of the year with the amount of inventory that we're going to start seeing come through.
Given the boots on the ground.
Right. Hey, look at that.
Hey. Given that factor and talking to people all week, different colors, different parts of the country, your slow trickle at the end of the year is quite doubtful.
No, I'm saying slow trickle up to the end of the year where we have a giant crescendo.
Oh, crescendo. Yeah, that surely is not happening.
Yeah.
We'll have the slowest trickle for 18 months.
That's Italian crescendo.
Crescendo.
So it's one of those. It's a foreign word for you. So
Right.
Right. Do you know what that means?
It's good to be global.
That's what we do here in the Moving Iron Podcast.
Yeah.
We take everything into account.
But see I don't think we're going to. We are back into talking to red guys, blue guys, yellow-ish, greenish, black, red, rainbow guys. Nothing is picking up. In fact, if anything, things are getting delayed again.
Yeah.
So we are here to ride this out for quite some time.
Right.
Your crystal ball's looking a little clearer.
Yeah.
When you like to throw dates out there for shock factor and get a rise out of people.
I'm like a used equipment Nostradamus. You know what I mean?
Very close. Very close. On the brink.
Yeah.
But I think given that, I don't know where the top is, but I hope we're almost there. And here's why. That stuff's all going to come back.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't want Joe Farmer, who just bought that from us.
Right.
And, it was the only and I'm not saying us or no specific dealer.
Just in general.
Yeah. Guy comes in, buys a tractor. Well, in this market, if it keeps going up and up and up and up and up from here, when it corrects, it's going to hurt twice as bad.
Sure.
As like the 14, 15, 16 correction.
Exactly.
It's going to hurt worse, and I have a really big feeling it's going to be an almost overnight type deal. It's going to happen. It's going to happen quicker to shut it off this time than it did 13 to 14.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean, if you look at what that backlash is going to be like, I mean,
look at it this way.
Yeah.
Easy come, easy go, right?
Right.
When we got to $7 corn in 12, that was a nice, steady uphill climb for 3-4 years.
Yeah.
We woke up in January, had $5 corn. We could wake up another day and have $3 corn.
Yeah.
This came overnight, relatively. I mean, there's a lot of factors involved, trade and everything else, but it ramped up so fast because of all the factors behind it that I think when it falls, it's going to fall just as fast. Now, you, being the Nostradamus, could tell us if you have an easy climb, is it an easy fall? And if it's a sharp climb, is it a sharp fall?
It's a, what's the old saying? It's an escalator up and an elevator down.
Yeah, there you go.
So it's one of those things where you have that. I think it'll be.
See, I would paraphrase it as that thing at the amusement park with them chairs and it shoots you up the pole and then you free fall down, that's our market right now. We're just stuck at the top.
The thing about all of this is that as long as inventory stays the way it is, until lots become full again, right?
That'll be the factor.
Or even the correction in commodity prices could change this.
I think that would have less impact on it than obviously that would have less impact on it than supply. Instead of 20 guys after one tractor, you'll have 10, but you still just have the one tractor, and that's where the problem lies.
Yeah.
For now. What's the problem now will be the solution later.
Yeah, I think so to some extent, but I also think that sooner or later, guys are going to get their balance sheets full of equipment. That's going to be like I've made my purchases and updated what I'm going to update.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter to me what's out there right now. I'm not going to buy a new planer. I'm not going to get a new tractor. I'm not getting a new. I've done all that.
Right.
I'm on a 3-year cycle for my combine. I'm on a 5-year cycle with my tractors or whatever the number is, and I'm in what I'm in, and that's how we're going to roll. And
absolutely,
I think that's going to happen. And when that happens, you're going to start seeing that. But it'll go right back to the way it was. It's just you're going to be selling into a huge amount of 1-year-old stuff again, and because that's really kind of the real tell right now when this does start to slow down is that it is so bare.
How many 1-year-olds are left?
Well, I mean, you have to start. You don't have a front, middle, and end of the washout cycle. You've got a front.
Right.
And then you've got to make the middle and you got to make the end. You know what I mean? So you have to find those customers that are going to want that 1- and 2-year-old stuff, 3-year-old stuff when it comes in. So you can get the 5- and 7- and 8-year-old stuff. So you can get the 10- and 12-year-old stuff.
Well, and not only that, like your washout cycle, case in point, that revolves around the dealer world. Right? We've sold a lot of stuff with no trades.
Yeah.
So there is no cycle. It's out there. It's in the marketplace.
It's out there.
It's not in our house.
Right.
And that applies to a lot of dealers. Mm-hmm. So that washout cycle is still there, but it's off doing its own thing, unattended to. That could become very problematic at some point.
Yeah. I think about 2010, 11 time frame, 2012 in that area, where we didn't really have an overwhelming combine problem. Our issue that we had in inventory was all we had were 2011 9770s.
Yep.
2010 9770s, and they all were $250,000 combines.
Right.
The occasional 50 series would pop up and it would sell real fast. The occasional 60 series would pop up and it'd sell real fast.
Especially a late model 60.
Yep. And all those things, that's what I'm worried about when this thing corrects, is that we are going to have the front end.
We skipped the buyers
boom,
again.
Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. It's going to repeat itself.
It is.
So
we skipped the 70 guy, ordered a new S7.
Right.
So we skipped a whole long list of S6 buyers.
Yes, we did.
And they've been missing for 10 years. I don't know where the hell they're at.
Yeah, they never came back, So, but that's what I'm worried about as you look at this stuff as the correction comes. I still think we got 2 or 3 years before we start seeing that of any kind of magnitude. I think we'll start seeing the road signs are going to start popping up and, exit here.
Yeah, caution.
When it says exit here, don't wait for the next one.
Right.
So start thinking about that. That's kind of what I think, and that's where I've been thinking about this stuff as we kind of go through these different exercises. So
Right on.
So, well, now it's time for our boots.
If folks want to reach out to you, Casey. Thanks for joining our 10 minutes.
So now it's time for the boots on the ground segment, and we've got our two fellows from Georgia that are going to be here with us here directly. We got Eddie Claxton and Lou Bordoni. How you guys doing?
All right.
Great.
Right on. So, Eddie, let's start with you. What is it that you do for Flint Ag Equipment?
Official title is used equipment manager. Lou and I kind of have our segmentation. A lot of dealers have one person doing the dual role. Some have it split apart. Basically, I'm on the front side of everything. all the trade evaluations, anything that we need to put a value on, figuring that first price of what we really need to put it in inventory for. And once it's in inventory, both of us kind of work together, making sure that it gets moved to one of our 8 locations if we need to move it. And then he takes it over from there, does all the marketing, and handles, the buyers, person-to-person sales, dealer-to-dealer sales. If he needs to adjust pricing, whatever that market is at that point. But we work basically hand in hand. We may not be together each day in the same office, but we're constantly, back and forth with each other. Some form of communication on everything we're doing, and it's worked pretty well for them bringing us into what we actually inherited when both of us got on board. He was already here. I came in early 16. He came from another division, so we got slapped in the face with a bunch of overaged, overvalued equipment, and some of it been sitting here for quite a while.
Right.
But pretty much I'm a used equipment manager. He's the used equipment remarketing manager. We basically work hand in hand and day to day, and make sure we get everything handled for our managers and our owner. We're an 8-store operation in Southwest Georgia. We're one of 3 divisions for our company. They have a construction, forestry, a power division, and an ag. We're on the ag and turf side.
Okay. Now, Lou, talk a little bit about kind of what your day-to-day looks like.
Sure. So like Eddie said, we're a little unique as far as how we organize things. And so most of my efforts are into monitoring our inventory and trying to get out ahead of problems. We're in kind of a unique situation down here in Southwest Georgia, and I think it's something that you may see in different parts of the country more than others, in that the way that the consolidations have come about and the way that the land ownership has evolved, you have less and less balance as far as our ability to wash out of equipment, right? So, and it almost seems as if as the years go on, you've got more A's and a lot less B's, C's, and D's, and so that's my challenge, is to try to consult up to the retail to my counterpart on the new equipment side, and try to throttle the sale of new equipment to match our ability to absorb the used, right? Whether it be retail or whether it be, looking outside and seeing, all right, well, what's the out of area ability to absorb? How's the rest of the country or the plant doing? So I guess the easiest way to put it is, my number one goal, or how I see my responsibility, is to clear the way for the retail guys to be able to do their job in a healthy manner, and to avoid problems, because the problem with us down here is that in steady state, when things are normal, we produce surplus. We know that, right? The issue is, if that stayed the same and if that was consistent, this job would probably be pretty easy, right? But it changes, and it's supremely segmented. One year we may be loaded down with a certain category of equipment, and which is a mainstream category of equipment, being grain harvesting or tractors or sprayers. And another year we may be loaded down or out of balance with some kind of niche equipment, be it a cotton or peanut equipment,
right?
That you don't really have a lot of places to go with, right? So to circle back to your original question, what does my day look like? sometimes my day is going out and being a mainstream remarketing manager, and another where I'm talking to guys in Illinois and Iowa and Nebraska and or here in Georgia, where other times I'm out there trying to figure out, man, we're loaded down with cotton pickers right now. Where's that market at and who's buying, and kind of reinventing my relationships and trying to figure out adjusting also our reconditioning program and kind of how we get things through, because obviously when your customer changes, your protocols change. We've talked a lot about that before, is not every buyer has the same expectations. So that has a lot to do with what I'm doing day to day.
Yep. Gotcha.
In a nutshell.
No,
a peanut shell?
Peanut shell. Yeah, there you go.
A peanut shell.
There you go.
All right, so cotton is obvious right now. Cotton is very high. I mean, I saw the other day some December cotton was opening up at $1. I mean, I don't know how often that happens, that you're forward contracting dollar cotton. So in an area that's heavily cotton, you got all kinds of cotton stuff going on. Cotton kind of drives the market down there. How's that affecting your business, and what are you guys seeing right now? I mean, obviously things are busy, and it is what it is because of equipment wise, but with the volume of tractors that you guys sell based around cotton, what are you seeing right now on the used side of that?
You want to start, Eddie?
What we're seeing right now on the cotton side is we're seeing some movement, but it's through the export side.
Okay.
We're getting some local guys. We had a lot of that December type business before the end of the year. And then the balance has really been more or less a lot of activity, a lot of interest from the exporters, but we had our normal cotton business as usual. We get an allocation from Deere on picker, so we ate our allocation up with all our local guys and our mud customers, and from that point now we're taking, as Lou calls them, the babies of all those trades and trying to force them down the line and figure out who's going to get them. But with Deere bringing in a new series picker, the 770, now the 690s and the 7760s are, a reference to y'all would be like, when they went from the 50 series to the 60 series,
Right.
and up to the S series. I mean, you start getting machines that are getting older and older, and they're losing value and losing steam. But the cotton market is hopefully surely going to help us with the input cost. We're going to still be in cotton and peanuts. That's our two main crops here, other than vegetables, watermelons, that sort of thing. We had a bunch of corn, but now corn's getting quite expensive.
Right.
Back down on that and do more peanuts and cotton. But if you ask me today, still the hot ticket is tractors. The cotton equipment will come, but we usually see some cotton business on into kind of the late summer, right before we start defoliating, and we'll get some guys that want to buy at the last minute or do some trades at the last minute. So,
yeah. What are you seeing, Lou?
So, I mean, here's the thing about cotton, and it's kind of, it's so simple that it gets complicated. So stay with me here. Like, so you have a finite amount of acres, right? And while our guys do have the ability and the flexibility to, like, as Eddie said, like move some acres over and say, all right, I'm gonna swap over X percentage of acres over to corn or peanuts or whatnot. What you're seeing is over the years, and I've graphed it. I mean, I've looked at it and kind of analyzed it. All from year to year, you're not going to see a tremendous amount of shifting of acreage. It's really got to make, for instance, I'll give you the example of corn. Corn is, if corn goes through the roof, Yeah, so maybe some of our guys that decide to move over 5, 7, 10, 12% of their acreage over to corn, right? But it's got to really, really, really make sense. Why? Logistically, we're at a tremendous disadvantage down here. Now, yeah, we can grow some tremendous corn. We can grow some tremendous corn down here. Our yields are tremendous because we're all underwater. We control our conditions, right? We can fertilize through the pivots, and so when we commit ourselves to it, we can do really well, but we're still at a tremendous disadvantage, right? So that's the number one reason. And the number two reason is what Eddie alluded to as far as the equipment that's coming out. And we saw a double-digit baseline increase with the new model cotton pickers. I mean, you're starting to flirt with $1 million a piece for a new cotton picker, right? And you're talking about one cotton picker is good for anywhere between depending on your location and kind of what your harvest window is, anywhere from say your 1,500 to 3,000 acres worth. So we've got a handful of large growers that are having to run 3, 4, 5, 6 cotton pickers. So just do some real quick math there. You're pretty darn committed. From an equipment standpoint, letting shifting acres over to corn and letting a cotton picker sit in a barn and just the not the hour but just the annual depreciation will almost make you sick to your stomach, and we'll have that happen. We'll have customers come to us, during the summer. Oh man, I want to. I'm thinking I think I'm gonna have my cotton custom harvested, and I'm just gonna stick to corn this year. Are you willing to just straight out purchase my cotton picker? Because I don't need it sitting there and have to make a payment. And that's a very difficult, very hard decision for us. I mean, it's got to really make a lot of sense, right? Mm-hmm. So that leaves the grower in a position where he's got to stay committed to that crop. So that would be the second point. The third point is just the rest of the infrastructure. I mean, we're set up to absorb X amount of production of cotton, X amount of production of peanuts from the sense of storage, of brokerage. It's all pretty sized accordingly, if you will, right? So. Right now, where the rest of, you talk to dealers around the country and they're telling you what a bad situation they're in, and where they're really losing a lot of opportunities, and they're trying to fill orders, and they're having to go out and pay kind of top dollar to fill retail orders. So we may have seen a bit of that. I know Eddie's gone out and bought some tractors here recently, and to be fill some orders, but for the most part, our guys from a fleet standpoint are so committed and so consistent because their operations are so large and their roll cycles are so consistent, right, that enables us to plan ahead, and their deals are discussed, and you pretty much right now the only curveball is a dealer's willing to commit. That's what's kind of throwing us for a curve, because historically, like, a lot of our guys will kind of pile up when they want to do their deals, right? And right now, from a delivery standpoint on the new, that's a challenge. So we've had to back up and look, say we've got X number of we'll call it, large deals, large equipment fleets that we pretty much do every year. Like, we've had to sit down and kind of spread those out a little bit, not because from an absorption standpoint, but because if you don't spread them out, you won't be able to bring the tractors in, get them PDI'd, get them invoiced out, and kind of refill the hopper with Waterloo. So that's really been the one challenge that we've seen in the last 12 months. But I guess the silver lining, or kind of where dealers like us in the South kind of set ourselves apart. I'm not saying good or bad. I'm not saying it was premeditated or we're doing anything better than anybody else, because normally the volume of equipment and the timing of it is our biggest crutch. Right now, it's been a blessing in disguise, because with the exception of when it shows up on the yards, we really haven't missed a lot of opportunities. So I guess in a nutshell, that's that. And so right now, yeah, the obviously on the risk on the trade side, I mean, unless you live under a rock, you know what's happening with equipment. The guys that are even more savvy know that we've realized a lot more price increases from Deere. Our costs have gone up. That equipment's costing them more.
Oh, yeah.
But they also know that their equipment's worth more.
Right.
And so that's something I know Eddie grapples a good bit on. And once the equipment shows up on the yard, that I grapple with to determine, all right, what is stuff worth in the marketplace? Where do we need to be on this stuff? And having the discipline to stay consistent and not, how can I put this in a way that doesn't kind of make us sound terrible? Like things are good, but I think that maybe some other dealers around the country are seeing a much bigger spread in the margins that they're seeing and their profitability than what maybe a dealer in the South is, because of the frequency of our roll cycles. You don't want to go out there and go crazy, because you know you're going to see that tractor again in 12 months. And if by that time the market has kind of gone back to normal, you need to be careful what you do with those B and C customers, because it's going to affect your ability to get, to be able to do their deals.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. So talk a little bit about that. So that's something I talk about a lot, and I think about a lot, is when you're looking at your traditional secondary buyer, you got the guy that's going to buy the first generation trade. Those guys are pretty well established. You know who those guys are. They're going to roll every 2 or 3 years. And then you've got the next guy that's going to buy his stuff that's rolling every 3 to 5, 7 years, something like that. And those guys, to me, that's where I worry about, the next 3 to 5 years, what's that look like and how that play out.
The B customer.
Yeah, the B customer, because a lot of those B customer guys they've become B customers because they don't have anyone coming back to the farm in a lot of cases. And they've just kind of, this is as big as I'm going to get. I'm not going to get any bigger than this. I'm going to kind of supply my farm with what I need when I'm when I'm ready to buy something. I'm ready to buy something, and I'm going to retire and move on here in a little while. The A guy is going to come in and pick up my ground or rent my ground or whatever they're going to do. Are you seeing that retirement kind of horizon get a little bit closer to some of these guys? And what if you're seeing that, what do you how are you handling that as far as that next level of customer? Like, how are you adjusting your washout cycle accordingly?
And I want Eddie to chime in on this, as well. But I'll put my observation, kind of way we see it. So, how can I put this? Like, there's a lot. I think that listening to you guys over the years, even, and seeing how what you just described is a perpetual cycle.
Sure.
Like it's constantly happening.
Yep.
I think with us it's not as although it's a concern, it's something that you've always got in the back of your mind that the consolidations are gonna continue to occur. I think the rate at which they occur in our part of the world are a lot less frequent.
Okay.
We're not seeing. You guys are always talking about retirement sale this and retirement sale that. And, I went to this retirement sale this weekend and, I was coming home and ran by another one. We don't see that. I mean, we'll see it's a big, we see them, but we see them, when there's a sizable retirement sale, it's something that's like, we're really talking about,
Mm-hmm.
I think what you're seeing more of is, there was, and I wasn't in the sector when maybe some of the big consolidations kind of came about,
right.
But you know, you've got, you may have, that we label A and B customers that may be farming similar acreage, similar number of acres.
Yep.
But the only thing that separates them is their philosophy on equipment.
Right.
It's like,
Yep.
I would never buy. I don't think I'd ever buy a new pickup. Right. That's just how I am.
Right.
You know, and it's not important to me. I mean, I know that model is going to stay the same for a couple of years, so I may be behind the 8 ball, but I'll still have a newer truck, still within warranty for at least 3 years. You know, well, with equipment's the same, and we've pushed that along as well. Like it's because we cannot sustain 20 A customers. The ideal, like what we've tried to mold, has been, all right, so if we walked in and there was 18 or 28 customers and 5 or 6 B's and then just a handful of C's, like we've chipped away at it year by year and said, all right, well, let's take 8 of those B's and let's figure out what value proposition or how to pitch some value to those guys to ride the coattails of one of these A customers.
Right.
And you got to kind of think through that and work real closely with your sales guys and take their guidance on that and say, all right, well, John, like, you know, who are 2 customers that would be compatible here? Or maybe you take 2 of those A's and you let them ride the coattails of one of your big A customers. And man, I'll tell you what, when you can pull that off, you've really done something. And so you combine that with the amount of hours that we put on equipment down here, that'll take you through almost to wholesale. You know, you can almost get wholesale by the 3rd or worst case scenario by the 4th trade.
Right.
You know, we've got growers that we've put, say, on a 1 or 2 year cycle, that their utilization on their equipment fleet is so efficient and so high that they're trading 1-year-old tractors or 18-month-old tractors with the 2,000, 2,500 hours. Mm-hmm. So, you know, right there, you've already, like, by the time they're trading in a new tractor that's still within basic, like, they're about as far along the kind of the usage or the hour curve that you guys would be having to deal with, like, say, with a B or a C customer.
Right. They're moving it. They put so many hours on because of their efficiencies.
Right.
They move it from an A+ down to a B or B- themselves just by how they're operating.
Yeah, we see that in those areas.
Yeah.
So that I could see that.
Exactly.
That's extremely helpful in a way.
Yeah.
Is if the dollars, you know, line up for that operation. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Now the challenge is always the pressure you get from the top side, right? So I mean, you know, and we saw that more than ever here recently, and you get it every couple of years, get the Kool-Aid and get the pep talk, and they, I'm not going to go over, that's plowed ground. Everybody knows that, and so down here, you know, talking with some of our friend dealerships down here in the South, you know, we have to kind of sit down and have a lot of discipline. Right. We have to have a lot of discipline to not bite on that. And the problem is that if you have one dealer group that's operating nearby that doesn't buy into that philosophy, it screws the pooch for the rest of them.
Absolutely.
That's the problem we run into.
Yep. And I think every dealer across the world, for what it's worth, runs into that. If dealer A is trying their hardest, we're hitting market share, we don't have any used problems, we're clicking along, this is the best plan ever, and dealer B is trying to get 3,000% market share, and they're just ruining everything.
Absolutely.
I totally get what you.
We do it to ourselves,
right? Exactly.
And that's why I've been preaching, and Eddie and I talk about it a ton, and with our management and ownership group, I think today more than ever, I firmly believe, and I believe in the importance of the value of these relationships and how much all these dealers across the country need to be working and need to be talking.
Right.
And I think Casey and you have done a tremendous amount, whether you realize it or not, to propagate that. And I think in the 5 years that I've been on this side of the business, I've seen that level of communication and I improve. And the more communication and the more synergy there is, and the more like alignment as far as like operational, like kind of MO you have across the country, the healthier we will all be as organizations.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because it's easy to sit there, buried in your laptop with your blinders on and stuff. But and I've seen it. Maybe I was going to use combines as an example, but that's kind of a bad example. But I know of times where we had like 100 used S600 series combines, and I might sell a couple in the Southeast to a dealer because you guys don't create combine problems like we insist on doing. So it's easy to think, if you look at us out here west and the I-states all the way to western or eastern Ohio, right down I-80, everybody's got a combine problem. Well, there's a lot of rest of the world out there, and if everybody's working together, it makes a hell of a huge difference.
But Aaron, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I think it starts with awareness. Like
right.
And I'm going to sound like a real what is the word, like newbie or rookie to naive, whatever it may be. When I started,
uneducated,
Yep.
foolish,
Yep. Harebrained.
Not anymore. All right. I'll tell you how quickly I had to get my head around this thing when I started. And I was reminded of it today when I was at our Leesburg store, which is where I kind of had my first office. And so I built what I call a war room. Literally, it was like it was a double cubicle, and I pulled everything out of there. And so you could push pins everywhere, So I went out and bought like the absolute biggest maps I could find. So I had a map of like the Southeast and of the whole country and of the world. And I went out and bought like different color push pins. And what I was trying to get my visualize was where's the hot spots for certain equipment? Because this is how dumb I was. And this is how like unaware I was, right? Like where do people create combine surplus? Where are the other little niche pockets in the U.S. where people have buy a peanut equipment or cotton equipment,
right?
Or where are guys buying big sprayers and where are guys buying little 2,500 hour sprayers? Where are guys buying 2-wheel drive combines? Where are guys buying shittily spec row crop tractors? Where are guys buying tractors with leather?
Right.
And I'm telling you, it took a long time to map that out and get your head around it. But what I found, like at the end of that, like being a newbie and not really having a gut feeling about all that and having to like mine that data all at the same time rather than trying to like learn it through experience and years of, I heard they run 2-wheel drive combines and a lot of them in Nebraska or whatever. Having to do it all in like a couple of months almost like really helped me. Like and the more you know what dealers are going to have, what problems when this or that is happening, I think the better you can execute. That you know who to call. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
So
sure.
That's my soapbox dissertation.
You got some feedback on that, Eddie? From your side of the fence?
Been in the war room. It's pretty cool.
I can imagine.
Right on. Well, fellas, it's been a
Luke, he brings a lot to the table. I mean, I've been doing this. I'll be 42 next month. I've been doing this since I was 17, and not in this title, but being in the deer business. And he brings a lot to the table for someone that hasn't been in it that long.
Sometimes that helps.
Yes, he brings a lot of aspects. Early on we were all kind of scratching our head, but especially now, he and I mean, I can come up with a problem and he can find a solution. It takes a lot of times that, thinking outside the box, and he does a lot of that. And it's very, very helpful, and a lot of things I pick up that I, never was aware of or didn't think of it that way. So, I think it's alluding back to what he said. I think a lot of this is relationships, trying to work with dealers and trying to figure out, if we're all going to have the same issue, we need to try to figure out a solution and work together to get that solution handled in a timely manner.
Right.
Yep.
Our thing is cotton pickers, and that's a very limited audience. Mm-hmm. And we try to work with the dealers that do cotton, and you end up sometimes carrying pickers, and we've done that. And we're still working, trying to resolve that, and don't know if we'll ever get to that point where we don't, but hopefully we will. And then the peanut side of it's a little different. We're very, very, very invested in peanuts. Without hesitation, we're the only dealer in North America that carries 3 brands, a Modest, KMC, and Colombo. So we have a whole different scenario on things. We've got 3 brands. We kind of set the pace and scale for Colombo. A Modest and KMC kind of already have their values in the marketplace, but then we have to be conscious of what we're doing with Colombo, KMC, and a Modest with the peanut market as it rises and falls, just like cotton. So
sure,
everybody's got a problem. It's just a little different.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, very much a relationship-driven business, and when you really peel back the layers of the onion, everybody's onion is a little bit the same. There's very, very few things that are different. You might have different equipment and different farming practices and those kind of things, but at the end of the day, used equipment's used equipment, and
Exactly.
there's a wash up.
a yellow onion, a white onion, and a red onion are all
Big
onions.
10-4, good buddy. I'm right. All right, fellas.
That's quick wit from a co-host. That's how you become a co-host.
That's nice. You get
That was awesome. That was well executed.
and be more than a pretty face. You know what I'm saying? So that's
Just slightly.
all right, fellas. Do you have any last thoughts before we exit this segment of the Moving Iron podcast?
I got one thing that I want to put out there. I want to plant a real quick seed, because I think that our industry has that's hot.
That sounds hot.
That's hot.
Yeah.
Get your mind out of the gutter. I still got and there's something that going back to that being naive thing, like, and not knowing how things work. I asked a question 5 years ago. When I've been doing this for about a month, and I asked the question. I'm like, why is it, like, they used to make fun of me, like, God, Lou, you ask these dumbass questions, but why is it that we can't sit down, and why is it that we're doing such, why are we making such silly, what you would think would be silly decisions, right? Why are we having to deal with such silly problems that in any other market or any other industry, like, could probably be a lot solved a lot easier. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Through a little bit of communication, a little bit of analysis, a little better decision making, right? And the answer was, we could come out and we could do, like Aaron said, we could go out there and slow the train down and try to slow cycles down and et cetera. But unless your neighbors are doing it, unless everybody's doing it, everybody's in agreement, and everybody's got, the same agreement, and nobody's going to take a disproportionate amount of risk, right? If everybody was going to agree to take the same amount of risk, right, to go up against Deere or the manufacturers, and it could be done, but you're never going to have a scenario in which everybody is going to be aligned as far as, okay, let's all slow this thing down, or let's all try to talk our customers into showing some value rather than just meeting metrics. And, well, all of a sudden, here's a phenomenon that's been put in our lap, right, that has put us all on a level playing field as far as we all have inventory availability issues.
Right.
We're all having to adjust our trade allowances and our market, the equipment price at which we're selling equipment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And even down to a product support standpoint. I mean, we're all challenged by that as well. Like, we're losing techs left and right, and so is our neighbor. And so we're all of a sudden, like, there's not because we did something right or wrong, but we're all kind of in a more even keel position, right, across the country, not segmented.
Right.
And so all of a sudden, there's a lot of good things that have come out of that. I've been saying for years, this whole used equipment thing, the way to make it make more sense is you got to slow it down. Well, it got slowed down. So my hope, and the seed I want to plant, is that I hope that when this thing rebounds, that we all were able to see the good things that came out of this, and that we take something away from that as an industry, and we increase our health in a way that will last. And that we don't regress back to doing stupid business and doing business for fun and not talking to each other and being a really terrible, use of capital as a company. So I that's my hope for us as an industry. That's my wisdom I wanted to plant before the end of my request, before the end of my segment. I'm done.
Right on. All right. Deep Thoughts by Lou Bordoni. That's a good one. I like that. Now, I think the best practices side of this business is always something people talk about, and I'm right there with you, Lou. That what's coming out of this is that this will be the first time when it slows down and things go back to a normal level of consistency, is that you're going to be filling up an empty cupboard. So you have an ability to go back in and fill that up with, good wholesome food, and not
Exactly.
not Twinkies and Ho-Hos.
Right.
You know what I mean?
This is in the cupboard because we had to have it.
That's right. So I mean, yeah, you can really put things back in there the way they're supposed to go. So I'm with you. I hope so too. I hope that we come out of this on the backside of a little wiser, a little smarter, and a little bit more. 2019, 2018, 2017 really wasn't that long ago, and
That's right.
We can go down a path of high correction here pretty quick if we're not careful.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
So what you're saying is when we do go to the store because the cupboards are bare, leave the teenage boys at home.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We don't need Hostess fruit pies.
Frito-Lay is not invited.
Yeah, exactly right. Eddie, you have any last thoughts?
Oh man, it's hard to come back after what Lou said. I mean, that's pretty strong, pretty deep.
Yep. Right on.
A lot of what he said is there. I mean, we just got to try to, if we can, work together and try to figure out where this thing's going to go. Because you can take every expert in the world and take all your commodity prices, but if the good Lord don't give you the water and the sunshine and the right temperatures and the right weather, none of us are going to get through this thing. So I mean, it's one of those that I've talked to guys that last time they remember anything like this in the equipment industry was probably in the 80s. So I don't know that we'll ever hopefully it's good and bad seeing this. So I'll just leave it at that. I don't know that we'll ever see this again, because we're looking at trading machines that's 3 and 4 years old and exactly giving them back exactly what they paid for.
Right.
Selling them a 3 or 4 year old tractor, 25 to 40% above what it should be.
Yeah.
It's just the way that the market is. There's, we didn't cause this. We didn't set it. We're playing the game that we were told to play.
Yep. Right.
All we can do is play in the arena we were put in, man.
Exactly.
Some modern day gladiators.
Yep.
Right. Well, fellas,
Speak for yourself, dude. You guys look like you could kick our asses.
Not Eddie's.
The 1982 stationary bike back there. That's
I think it's hardcore.
hardcore.
Well, okay. So last little thing, real quick. Just get your feedback. So both of you guys came to Moving Iron Summit this last year. You've been there before. What are some of the big takeaways you have when you go to those meetings like that?
Eduardo?
Camaraderie. Getting to meet, and talk, and visit with other dealers, especially the guys that don't sell the same color.
Right.
John Deere, Mother Deere has always preached one avenue. With going to those different meetings, we can take the fork in the road and go a different path and try to come back over and bring something back to our dealership, individually or as a team to put in place. I think that is something that needs to continue, and hopefully it can continue. I think we all raised our hand for Nashville, so where it's going to be, I will definitely be.
Yeah, I'll be there.
No, it's a wonderful experience. Like I said, especially to meet people other than John Deere.
Right, absolutely.
Great thing.
My biggest takeaway is that, I always would have thought that, those electric mopeds would be not a really big deal to operate, but it's a lot more complicated than what you would think.
In certain times of day, more than others.
Yeah, exactly.
I really respect those guys in the tight jeans. They're braver than I ever gave them credit for. So, but beyond that, absolutely, Eddie has hit the nail on the head. The camaraderie and the fact that, you get to sit down in a different environment with guys that are doing the same thing you're doing. And like you said earlier, you get your nose to the grindstone and you're behind that laptop and it's real easy, or you're out in the field and you're, photographing and kind of in the getting a rut of getting things done. And you forget to look around and see kind of the macro idea of, hey, man, I could be doing this differently. And so those meetings are real good about, sitting down with people that have done a really good job at certain parts of what we do, and you get an opportunity to kind of get a glimpse inside of man, this guy's really thought this through, man. I've had conversations. I remember having a 30-minute conversation one time with Brent Bowen about the proper angle to photograph an 8R, and you'd think we were talking about fine art,
right?
As far as this is or talking with French people about champagne, and that is not champagne, that is not how you photograph an 8R. This is how to do it.
Right.
And he is the god when it comes to photographing 8Rs. He really is. He makes tractor porn. And and in 30 minutes, I gained I learned how to do something that I thought I was doing well, a lot better. Mm-hmm. And it goes with everything. There's so much synergy. And the one last thing about your meetings, or those Moving Iron meetings, is that as the years go on, as we move forward, I think that the level of intimacy in these meetings and the people's willingness to open up and realize that, what, man, this whole thing about keeping everything guarded and these industry, yeah, there's some things you're kind of got to keep close to the vest, but for the most part, best practices benefit everybody.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, and I think that's, I imagine that was always your intention, and you kind of had that vision to begin with. But I think that as the years go on and as the culture changes, we're more and more effective, or is growing as an industry.
Right on. Yeah, absolutely. That's the key function of that is the networking, the sharing of best practices, and then listen to a few speakers talk and maybe glean some piece of information from that you can take back and kind of put into your system. So, no, I appreciate you guys coming and all that stuff. So, Eddie, if folks want to reach out to you and get more information about what you're doing, or just pick your brain about stuff, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Cell phone, or my email, cell phone 706-871-2555.
Right on, man. And Lou, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Cell, email, pigeon, 954-815-7981, or lbordoni@flintequipco.com.
Right on. Okay, guys. Well, appreciate you being on this segment, fellas, and a good conversation as always. So take care of yourselves, and we'll catch you next time.
The only thing I will say real quick, Lou, don't compare Brent to Hugh Hefner ever again. Because he's going to hear that and he's going to eat it up.
I'm drink out of this.
There you go.
I will cash that in.
Right on.
Thanks, guys.
Fellas, appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good weekend.
And with that, Lou and Eddie have left the Zoom call. So, Aaron, as usual, those guys are always full of information, especially Lou.
Absolutely.
That dude thinks about shit.
Constantly.
You know what I mean? Like, really thinks about stuff.
I'm the iron geek, and you're like beyond Thunderdome geek, and he's like the everyday numbers, decimals, spreadsheets geek.
He takes a lot of notes, too. You ever notice that when you go to a meeting?
Oh, yeah,
Dude
constantly.
takes like reams of notes.
So you said at 9:36 that.
That's right. Yeah. So, well, I think that's a good place to jump off here. I mean, we got a good conversation here, boots on the ground. That end of the spectrum, like we talked about, we're going to see more of this stuff take place where you've got this filling back up with the cabinet thing and what that looks like and how things change along the way. So it's going to be an interesting next couple of years to see how this thing all the way shakes out.
Buckle up, buddy.
Buckle up. That's right. All right, man. Folks want to reach out to you, get more information from you about what you're doing. What's the best way to do that?
Call me or text me, 308-760-1193, AFintel at 21Equip on Facebook, and soon to be on Twitter again. Weekend goals.
Right on. I am Casey Seymour. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Moving Iron LLC. You can also go to MovingIronLLC.com to get all the latest information about the Moving Iron Summit coming up here in Nashville, Tennessee, September 6th, 7, and 8. I'll have that information up there. In the meantime, if you want more information about that, send me an email at MovingIronPodcast at MovingIronPodcast.com, and we'll get you what you're looking for there. So with that, I want to thank Eddie Claxton and Lou Bordoni for being on the Boots on the Ground segment, and Aaron Fennell and Casey Seymour. Let's go move some iron, folks. Out.
You want to have a meaningful competitive advantage to help sell more equipment. Whether you represent the sales, parts, or management department of an implement dealership, there's a surprising amount of complexity when it comes to tire, wheel, and track technology. Let Axon worry about that so you can get back to supporting your customers. Axon has leveraged years of experience to create a streamlined process that gives you a proven path to help today's grower and sell more equipment. The roots of their organization go back almost 100 years to the invention of the rubber tractor tire. Supporting agriculture is the number one driver of Axon, from product development through sales and service. To find more or become an Axon dealer, head over to axontire.com. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 for all of your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. And no matter how you buy ag equipment from a dealer, auction, or a private party, AgDirect can help you finance it. You can even apply at agdirect.com. Learn more about your financing options at agdirect.com.
Moving higher in the 21st century. Hardworking people working hard for you and me. Moving higher me.